Alright, so as usual, before we proceed, the download links for everything will be in the description, so please get those now before you continue the video if you want to follow along. So when you download all that, you're going to want to go to your Open KH folder that you grabbed. You want to scroll all the way down until you see openkh.tools.kh2mapstudio.exe. You're going to open that. I would recommend pinning this to your taskbar if you plan on using it quite a bit, because navigating that list can be quite short. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to File, Preferences, and set the movement speed of your camera here to 1500. You can just double click it to change it. And then we're going to change the memory skyscraper map. What map corresponds to what. You can open the KH2FM boss warp elaborate.txt, and we'll just Control F, search the world never was. And we're gonna mess with memory skyscraper today, so let's go ahead and scroll down this list here. That'll be EH03. We can tell it's EH03 because the XX digits are 03 here. And well, it does turn the hex every so after you get far enough. You can convert this through the handy dandy Windows calculator. Just type, you know, like what's EH16? Okay, that's 10 in hex, and then okay, that's Knott's approach. If you ever wanted to modify that. Anyways, we'll be sticking with Memory Skyscraper for now. So first, I'm going to go over the labels of everything. You should go to View. Make sure Camera, Spawn Points, Spawn Script Map, Spawn Script BTL, and Spawn Script EVT have check marks by them. You don't really need anything else. Next, I'll go over this a bit. You'll have your camera, which just shows your position, the rotation of the camera. You can move the camera around this tool with WASD. Arrow keys also work for rotation, but I would recommend just holding left click and doing that, as it's far less sensitive. So now you have spawn point editor, which will show your spawn point along with a couple of groups here. Spawn script compilers for maps, BTL and EVT just show everything based on the room ID that's been warped to. I'll go over this a bit more in depth later. For now, I'm going to go over the spawn points. You always start off with an M_00 for pretty much every map. This is like the default spawns positions for Sora, Dawn, and Goofy, based on where they're like entering the room from. So if we drop down this list, we'll see quite a bit more things. So M_10, 11, like basically through 19, these correspond to these little collisions that you can end up hitting to do a rune transition. There's two actually, normally. If you see how this one's a bit further out, this is the signal to have like text appear below the screen before you rune transition. Like how we're close here and it says Memory Skyscraper, we walk away and it doesn't quite show that. Like this is actually a collision being hit. And then if we were to rune transition, that would be like the other collision being hit. Now, unfortunately, the collision is the most eye-shattering shade of red imaginable, with no transparency, so we won't be able to see things like mobs through these boxes later on, but we'll get around that by maneuvering them around. So then M_22, this is usually going to refer to, I believe these are crowns. Let me check my notes here. Yes, M_22 is puzzle crown placements for the rooms. You can move these around. I don't quite know how to tell the game which room has a puzzle crown and which one doesn't, so you're not going to be able to do much changes with these over time, unless you just want to outright replace them in the room and you don't care about puzzles. So M_70, this typically refers to treasure chests, and you can have multiple of these in a room, as you can see. I will go over these in a bit once I get to mobs, like all this stuff. But we've got like 3 treasure chests in this room. And treasure chests are entirely possible to manipulate in this game. It's just kind of a tedious process that mostly happens outside of the art editor. Then M_80 will refer to, this usually refers to examine prompts. If you see FEX000, this is basically like you walk up to, say, here, then you press triangle and it gives you some flavor text, or you go to the truck. So yeah, you can add those to rooms too and give them their own little text strings. It's not listed here because it doesn't exist in this room, but M_20 would also just refer to save points. But here we'll get into the fun stuff now. So B_00. Honestly, just everything pertaining to B_, like the lower digits tend to refer to random encounters. Like you're walking through the map and then suddenly, oh no, there's like 20 shadows attacking me. And then the higher values will tend to correspond to boss battles. You don't really see any here because no boss battles actually take place in Memory Skyscraper. Oh well, there's a B_80. But this is like the mushroom, which I guess you can count as a boss fight if you want. Anyways, yeah, so you've got these different spawns here, and you can kind of see like two berserkers and a dancer coming through here, and like a single samurai here. So you've got these different spawn groups here that appear. There's 4 spawn groups corresponding to this spawn point here. So you can see like 4 red boxes, for instance. So let's move one of these now. So if you move along these and you drop down Event Activator 1, you'll see a bunch of stuff here: shape, option, flags, type, PG group on, off. I have pretty much never needed to use shape, option, flags, type, PG group off for any of this. What's really important here is like position and scale, and I guess rotation if you want to be hyper specific with these things. So let me see. If I move the Y here, we'll see that this thing is moving up. So we can either hold left click in the box and like drag it up and down to change stuff. So I'll just I'll drop it down through the floor for now so we don't have to see it. Because that's the only way we can really see these mobs without zooming in to this red and hoping we can see them through it, which I will not zoom in on the red because I love you guys. You guys are the best. Alright, now we move that, we can see there's 3 entities here. There's like a berserker and 2 dancers, for instance. So if we wanted to change this, then we would click this menu. You gotta type the name of, or the object entry name of something else, and this is case sensitive, so we'll just go up a bit or down a bit. We'll do like MEX920, and this changes this dancer to a sniper, for instance. Okay, so I'm gonna go over all of these things now because now is basically a good time. So zoom in on this guy here a bit. There we go. And these nobody's look cool up close. Anyways, so you've got your X, your Y, and your Z position on the side here. Like before, you can drag it around with your mouse, and it'll go places. Alternatively, you can just double-click the box and then type whatever you want. So, like, you type -51, he goes up. We can just do as much as we want. That way, you don't have to, like, drag your mouse constantly. Rotation. There's also an XYZ rotation. I've never seen this game support actually spawning something in with a different X or Z rotation. The only thing that seems to matter is the Y rotation here, which lets you move it around however much you want. This doesn't really impact much, but it's nice to spawn in mobs and have them actually facing the player. Alright, now let's get to the actual functionality of these spawns. So spawn type is a reference to how the AI will enter the battlefield. So the most noteworthy values here are if you do 0, then when you enter the room or you enter a scripted encounter against this thing, then this is going to be one of the first enemies that show up. And they'll be visible like before the map loads. Like you won't even see them spawn in, they're just gonna be there. 2 makes them actually spawn in like with their visual effect and all that on their XYZ position with the rotation you have set for them. This is basically in scripted encounters after you kill a wave of enemies and then suddenly more spawn in. Spawn R, I've only seen one specific use for this. Granted, it's very useful. So 0, if you set it to 0, then it'll just then the creature will just spawn in at its XYZ position and rotation like normal. But if you set it to 1, it'll actually override all of these, and it will spawn relative to the player's position. It'll be pretty close to you. Think like Cavern of Remembrance, Nobody Wave 3. You clear out some enemies, and then some will spawn like right next to you. They're basically all using spawn arg1. If you want to take a lazy route, you don't want to have to configure the XYZ position of like, I don't know, 50 mobs. No shame in doing that. That's basically what they did for almost the entirety of Nobody Wave 3, so do it if you want. Serial, this is very important, so actually I should probably go over this. So at the top of each spawn group, you're going to see a type flag ID unknown 20, unknown 24. I've never messed with type flag unknown 20 or unknown 24 before, or even like the map teleport that exists on, you know, these spawn groups. Like, you never need to use these unless you're actually doing room transition stuff, but ID is super important. Every spawn group needs to have a unique ID, like something in the room can't share the same spawn group ID, and mobs can't share the same serial number, or things are going to start getting really weird. Like, you're going to spawn in without a keyblade, and the game is going to most likely randomly crash. So, the way I get around this is, rather than going around checking every spawn group, I usually just bump this stuff up to like, sorry, not 200, like 2,000, and then the serial number can be like 2,000, and then the next serial number could be like 2001, like, you know, you basically just count upwards by 1 from a massive number, and that way there's basically no way you're going to conflict with something, because a room with only like, I don't know, maybe 80 spawns at most isn't going to have to reach up to 2,000 ID and serial number. The only time you'd really have to worry about something like this is the Hades Underdrome Cups things, because there are a lot of spawns shared across that. But anyways, yeah, so that's really important. Never forget that. Argument 1 refers to how an AI is going to function when it enters the map. So for instance, the pirates in Port Royal, like when they're ambushing you on the ship and they're jumping on, they have like argument 1 set to 90, and that influences what animation they use upon entering the battlefield. Axel 1 uses this, like the version of him you fight the Sandlot. I'm pretty sure you have to set this to 1 for him, or his AI starts acting really weird and it becomes completely broken, and it'll just randomly T-stance in phase 2 because he's trying to play like Axel 2. Another example would be like Devastator spawning in, you know, melee mode or artillery mode. So to figure out which argument 1 value you need for this stuff, you would basically have to look at existing spawns in the game. Like, I can't help you with that. Argument 2 I've never used, so don't worry about it. Reaction command is actually incredibly misleading. This is the text string that will... This is the value for a text string that will appear when you talk to an NPC or like examine an object. If we go back to m_70 here, this is like... Oh, this is not the examine prompts, my bad. It was m_80. So, like, you'll see here, the reaction command for this examine prompt is like 1,622, and then command is, you know, 30. So, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but I may as well, since these correlate really strongly with each other. So, this is going to be the value of the text string that appears when you actually perform the examine prompt, or the talk prompt, if it's an NPC. And command corresponds to the reaction command that actually appears. The noteworthy values here is 30 is examine, 31 is talk. So keep those in mind. Let's go back to what was it, B00? Yeah, okay. We'll go back to our Friend here. No, this was the friend. Which one was the friend? Okay, this one. Right? Nope, I'm dumb. It was spawn group 1. Yeah, here we go. Alright. Anyways, spawn delay is a timer for when each of the mobs actually appear between each other. So, for instance, this guy is going to spawn in, and then there's going to be a slight delay on the next guy spawning in because it's set to 8. I'm not really sure if this is like... I'm not really sure if this is timed in seconds or something. A very common value I've seen the game use is 25. Basically, if you don't want everything spawning in like at exactly the same time, you want it to be like, I don't know, a little more dramatic with a team slowly appearing, you can do this. But if you want to set to 0, that's fine too. Okay. Spawn range, I've never seen this value changed before. So I don't know the use of it, so you can just ignore this. Level is very interesting. So I'm actually going to switch up the spawn group now. Let me zoom out to save your eyes. Okay, so that's a lot of red boxes, as you can see. Do not worry about it. So, this is actually a good example. So, in Memory Skyscraper, there are like 52 enemies that can attack you. It's a bunch of shadows and neo shadows. This happens after you defeat Roxas. There's like 11 different event activators here. This means like all these red boxes are tied to the exact same spawn. I don't really know what the parameter things are. I've never had to use these, so I wouldn't worry about them. But you can move all these different event activators around and, you know, kind of scale them down, as you can see in the distance over there, so that you can influence, you know, where the player has to step for these things to start spawning. Because once you step out of the collision zone, they won't be spawning again. But yeah, back to the list here. So, as you can see, like, MEX420 here is like level 2, and then if we go down a bit, okay, it's still level 2. Okay, Entity 16 is like level 6. So what is this? Well, in a spawn group, and mind you, this all has to be like one spawn group if you're gonna do it like this, because it only works in that particular spawn group. So let's say you have 3 shadows at level 2, and then 1 Neo Shadow at level 3. You have to kill the 3 shadows to get to level 3. Like, you have to kill all the level 2 mobs before you can get to level 3. So let's see here. Level 2, level 2, level 2, level 2, okay, level 4. This thing kind of skips around, I don't really know why. But okay, sure. I'll just make this less confusing. So, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level 2s here. That means these are all going to spawn in at the same time, assuming they don't go over the capacity limiter on maps. I just call it spawn limiter. But once you kill all these level 2 mobs, then, like, the level 3 mob will appear. So, in this case, you know, this random Neo Shadow here will appear. So, essentially what you can do with this is you can create waves of enemies. Like, you could have, say, I don't know, you could have 2 cars appear, and then when you kill the 2 car heartless, then, like, 3 Neo Shadows appear. As long as you set the cars to, like, level 1, and then the Neo Shadows are at, like, level 2. You can basically create waves of enemies with this. So that's a very fun little mechanic. Metal, the only time I've ever seen this changed was to be set to 1. From what I can tell, this corresponds to something holding like a Halloween Town present or Port Royal Medallion, and basically when you kill it, it's gonna drop whatever it's holding. I've never had to use metal before anyways, but the functionality is there if you want to mess with it. Alright, so before we can get into testing this stuff, now's going to be the time to use the dynamic loader. So what is the dynamic loader? Okay, so first things first, you're going to need a VFS folder for this, and you're going to want to make at least like an ARD folder here. You're going to want to make a MSN folder, and in that MSN folder you're going to want a JP folder. I'm pretty sure the case does matter here, so make sure it's all lowercase. So make sure you have the exact file path of, the exact case of the words that I do here. Alright? And then you're going to launch the dynamic loader, and for this you're going to want to be on PCSX2 1.5.0. I wouldn't go any higher than this because it becomes unreliable. And once you make sure you don't have your ISO booted yet either. So you'll start the dynamic loader, and then there's going to be a should be a process here. You just double click that, and now it says it's waiting for KH2FM. So then you boot ISO fast. Now because this is all basically passing this through, like it's hooked up to this, you are going to be experiencing the equivalent of PlayStation 3 load times. That might sound really, really annoying, but I assure you it is a necessary evil, because this is one of the absolute quintessentials when it comes to modding this game. Because otherwise you're going to have to make patches over and over and over again each time you want to test a change, which is a very long process when you have to repeat it constantly. So, I'm loading my save file here. You'll see it's, passing through all the shit that it has to load in. I'm going to swap off of this. Alright. Okay, so let's go to the world map. We're gonna go to Memory Skyscraper now. So bear in mind, first of all, we're gonna want to make a save state when we're like right before Memory Skyscraper, because we're gonna be testing stuff with this first. And it's going to allow it. So I'll press F1 to just make the save state there. If you don't trust it, you can just go System, Save State, Slot 0, whatever. Now, if we enter Memory Skyscraper at this point in the game, you'll see, we've got, in my case, there's nothing here, but normally there is a mushroom here. So, okay. What spawn do we know that has the mushroom specifically? This is what we're going to test. So if we go through all these, we can see, like, we'll do like B_80, and we'll see there's our little mushroom guy there. Alright. So this is where the spawn script compilers come into play. So we don't really know off the top of our heads, what program is like corresponding to. Basically, program corresponds to like the room digits, because this game will set story flags, and then it has like separate instances of the map that it loads these scripts in to basically determine like, okay, what's gonna spawn here, what's the limit to how much can spawn here, what groups spawn here, and yada yada. Okay, so we want to scroll through the BTL script, because this is B_, so it's almost certain to be included in the BTL script. So if we scroll through here and we see, okay, B_80. So there's a mission here. This is basically referring to the mushroom thing. We'll go over missions in more detail later. So let's say, for instance, we don't want the mushroom to spawn here. And we just want to fight, like, the shadows and the Neo Shadows and all that. So we're going to remove unknown 060. We're going to remove the mission. And then down here, we're going to change B_80 to B_, yeah, B_10, because that corresponds to the mushroom. So you'll want to make sure, like, you know, if you were to write, like, something else. In fact, we'll do that right now, too. So let's say on top of, like, the shadows and the Neo Shadows, we kind of want to push this game. We want to spawn in the nobodies as well, okay? So let's do spawn B_00. And then in random encounter rooms like this, it's always good practice to have a capacity set. The capacity is basically the spawn limiter. If you don't have any capacity and you have a bunch of enemies, then what's going to happen is the game, if you don't have level set on these enemies, they're just going to all start, you know, spawning in, and your game's going to crash because this is an emulator trying to mimic a PS2, and a PS2 can't handle that much shit on the screen. So let's do, so we'll press enter to, you know, make a little line break here. We'll do capacity 60. 60 is pretty reasonable. So yeah, you'll want to make sure that when you, like, write a spawn group in, you'll want to do, like, spawn space, then do a quotation mark, whatever group you want to spawn in, then do that. Next, we're going to hit compile here, and if it says success, then you're good to go. So then we're going to save our ARD, and we're going to you want to make sure it's in your dynamic loader VFS ARD folder. So this is normally EH03.ARD, so we're going to save that there. Now I'm going to load the save state. I want you to look at the dynamic loader while this is loading in, because we're going to enter the map now, and you'll see right there it says loading data using cache. Like, basically the highlight stuff lets you know, okay, you named the file correctly, and what's now being loaded in here isn't it isn't like the mushroom one, it's your changed file. Okay? So if we step forward a bit, there's the nobodies. Alright. So we can fight these guys. If we move forward, there should be some shadows and Neo Shadows as well. We've got stuff here in the mushroom, which, you know, granted wasn't inside before, but basically on your copy of the game, you know, it also will still be there. So yeah, you can add stuff in and just kind of fight it. I'll be perfectly honest, on a normal Sora file, if you were to go into, like, a drive form, for instance, it would probably T-stance you with this much stuff on screen. I can't confirm that for sure. My mod's just kind of optimized to allow a lot of stuff on the screen, both from, you know, essentially removing Donald and Goofy, and then on top of that, just reducing the size of enemy movesets. Because I like having a bunch of enemies to fight. Within reason, of course. Basically stuff that your moveset's balanced to handle. Anyways, my rambling aside, so now we have a room where there's more stuff to fight. That's cool. But let's say you want something else. Actually, now will be a good time to talk about missions. We'll transition into that, because what I'm about to talk about is going to be way more relevant to missions. But also notice how when I there's only these two shadows on screen. Oh, well, never mind. So, like, I had to walk back a bit, because that's one of the I was in one of the dead zones where there was no, like, red zone collision or anything like that. but you know, once you step into those, then the spawning happens again. Like how I moved up here and then a dancer spawn. The Berserker's gonna spawn too as soon as I start killing some more stuff. It's probably gonna be a second one. Like, this is, you know, the spawn limiter in action, so your game doesn't get completely overwhelmed. That is why capacity is super important. I know I keep calling it spawn limiter, that's just what I've always called it before I started using this tool, so it's kind of ingrained in my head. Call it whatever you like. Alright. So I think you get the idea. Let's move on. Yeah, you know what, let me go ahead and return to the title screen, actually. Because I'm going to load a save file here. If you're wondering how I'm doing that, return to the title screen, that's a thing that Crazy Cats' English patch actually adds to the game. It's a very good feature. Anyways, I'm going to load in before the pirates, the harbor fight with the pirates, like right before you fight them, because that's going to be the mission we change. So I'll go ahead and make a save state here. Again, we're going to pinpoint what the harbor map is first of all. So we'll go back to Boss Warp Elaborate. We'll just search harbor. So you'll see here, there could be some weird cases where like there's multiple iterations of a map. Like there's 2 harbors here, 3 if you're playing on my mod. Don't worry about that; it's irrelevant. So the way we figure out, you know, okay, well, which one corresponds to the event we're doing, because Sonic Shadow Silver 2 is, you know, a god, he basically tested, I want to say pretty much every room digit when it comes to missions and cutscenes. So, we can see here, alright, Undead Pirates Battle, second visit, that's probably what we're looking for, just in case. We'll scroll down to Harbor. We'll see, okay, Grim Reaper Bout 2 Battle. Showdown with the Grim Reaper, Legendary Pirate Jack Sparrow. Okay, so it's basically just corresponding to, you know, Grim Reaper. So that means we're going to use digit 01. So that means what we're looking for is CA01 here. So we're going to go to CA01. Alright, so here you see it starts us off at M_00. And, you know, we've got all these things here, once again. And then you've got these little things here. I'll briefly touch on these for a while. When you see, like, some weird digit and then, like, an underscore after it, or I guess in this case, not always either, these correspond to NPCs, like the people that, you know, you're gonna talk to, and, you know, they're gonna say some stuff, you know, whatever. Then you've got, like, these groups here, which, you know, PEX020RTN, that's Donald, and then there's probably gonna be one for Goofy as well, because there's 2 separate spawn groups. I'm not really sure what all the event activators for them are for, but they do have a set walking path. That's basically just them wandering around doing stuff. Again, I don't know what the parameters are for. I probably wouldn't mess with them in this case either. Right. Anyways, so yeah, that's just NPCs. Not really relevant unless you want to go super in-depth, I guess. Anyways, what's really relevant here is, you know, all these little spawn groups. You know, you've got your B_40, you got your B_41, and you've got like B_60, B_61. So like that's gonna be Grim Reaper. Alright, so here's where it gets tricky. Well, not really tricky, but you can see it's like, okay, we've got all these pirates here. How do I know which ones correspond to, you know, the second wave? I mean, gosh golly gee, this is kind of confusing, man. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. And also Sonic. So here, in the harbor, we're going to see, yeah, we went over these before, like, okay, Undead Pirates Bow, second visit is here. Alright, well, we've got digit 35 here. You look on the BTL script for something called program and then 0x35. If there's a 0x before something, it is reading it in hex. If not, then it is reading it in decimal. Just keep that in mind. So here we have the BTL script once again. You know, you've got program, you've got this progress thing. This is a story flag. I wouldn't mess with this. Unknown 060. I don't fucking know. Party with friend kind of determines like, oh, okay, you've got like Jack Sparrow here with you or something like that. Then you've got stuff like, and then you got the mission 0x7D, CA01, MS201, and then you've got like the spawn B_60. Okay, so we know now that B_60 is a part of this is like the Pirates 2 wave. Now I'm gonna be frank. There is actually a problem with this tool sometimes, where if there's multiple of the same entity in the same spawn group, for whatever reason, it can have trouble with rendering both of them. I don't really know why. One of them can be invisible. Because normally there's actually 3 pirates here, and you can even see this in the entity list. And there's 2 guys here, so what's going on? Well, if we change this guy off of BCA020, since that's down here, we'll change it to like BCA040. Then you'll see, okay, so we changed this guy, and suddenly this guy appeared here. So, yeah, if something looks short, that's the problem, and you can temporarily change it around. So let's combine a bunch of the stuff I was talking about before. So first off, we want to be able to utilize the level system, and we're gonna want more enemies than this, I think, if we want to have something fun. So what we can do for this instead is we can actually add in our own, you know, we can add in stuff from other maps instead. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna prepare for the future here. So we're gonna do spawn B_6T. We're gonna compile that. We're gonna save it. Alright. So in order to utilize the level system properly, we can't actually have these friend 1, friend 2, and player spawns here. These are basically, you know, these are the positions where Sora, Donald, and Goofy are told to load into the event. We're going to have 2 groups. We're going to have one just dedicated entirely to Sora, Donald, and Goofy spawning in, and then we're going to have one dedicated to a larger group of pirates. So this is where the bar editor comes into play. So what we're going to do is we're going to, if you navigate to the yard package that I gave you all, you'll see like these .spwn files. These are spawn files. I have some of them labeled for you. These are basically like, you know, good starting points for everything. I'm going to, so first off, we're gonna go to the CA01R that we just saved. We're gonna open that. We're gonna navigate to, navigate through this list, and B_60 corresponds to the 3 pirates and Sora. We're gonna right-click it and do, we're gonna right-click it, we're gonna do replace file. We're gonna need to go back to the, wherever you have your little spawns that I gave you all. We're gonna do 15 spawns with levels. And then we're gonna add a new entry to this file. We're gonna change the type here to C, which corresponds to spawn points. Then we're going to do b_6t. Then we're going to select add file, and we're going to add the b_6t file here. Then we'll save it as, make sure that you save as type ard. We're going to save it as ca01.ard. Okay, and now that we've changed the ard, we're going to need to reload it in this. You're going to go to File and Import External ard file. You're going to navigate to your ca01.ard that you saved. With the bar editor, we're going to open that. So, okay, now it's reset to m_00 here. We're going to go to the bottom first of all. We'll select our b_6t. And here we have Sora, Donald, and Goofy spawns. As you can see, I've already got the ID set to like 2000, and then serial set to 2000, 2001, 2002, so you don't have to worry about setting up all that stuff with my little presets here. We'll just move Sora around a bit. Sure, this is a fine position, I guess. And then we can just do the same to Donald and Goofy. I don't personally use them on my mods, aside from like Donald as a little sound dummy. It's a fun little fact for you. But if you're doing this on like, you know, a normal Sora gameplay routine, then you would just you'd move them there, something like that. Basically, you know, get the squad together. And we already wrote, you know, spawn b_6t, so now we don't have to worry about, you know, game wallpapering because we only have enemies and no Sora spawns. Next, we're gonna go back to b_6t, and you will see there is this has a much different look to it now. So we've got 15 entities here. I'll just drop down all these lists. Again, you really don't have to worry about the serial number or the ID because I've already got this stuff set up. Anyways, so yeah, you've got a lot of different enemies here. These most certainly are not pirates. You'll see like here, one has level 0, one has level 1, there's a spawn delay here, yada yada. Alright, so we've got all this open, we've got the menus drop down. So, let's see here. You know, let's go some more pirate fights. So now that we have all this isolated into one group, like we're gonna have all the enemies in one group, now I can make use of the level system. So let's, first of all, let's change this to like a pirate. We'll do like BCA040 here. Yeah, we'll just, we'll get this guy all the way back here. Bear in mind, don't be afraid to, like, you know, change the levels around too. Like, again, this is just something predefined I had set up, but you guys can do whatever you want with it. Let your imagination run free. This stuff is actually quite relaxing to do. So let's set up, like, you know, for instance, 2 snipers here. And then we'll just, we'll have, like, these, have, like, this pirate here, you know, this a wonderful guy, the BCA030. We'll set him up right here. And we'll actually take advantage of the argument 1 system now to show this guy off. So we'll move that there. Then we'll change argument 1 to 90, which is going to make this guy, like, leap out of the water, essentially. Oh, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong guy. How'd that happen? This is the guy that we're supposed to be on. So we'll change this argument 1 to 90. And then, like, basically, as soon as we kill these 2 guys, since they're level 0, this guy is going to spawn in at, like, level 1. And, or sorry, this guy will spawn in because he's level 1. Bear in mind, level doesn't actually affect, like, their battle level. Anyways, so now we've done that, we can, you know, we can basically configure another one to act just like him. So we'll drag him over here, Right around there. Rotate them around. And we can move these guys to the side a bit more, actually. Rotate him. Rotate him. Okay. So now we'll have, like, these two guys spawn in at, like, level 1. We even turn off their spawn delay so they spawn in unison. Okay, and then, you know, level 2 would begin, and, you know, we would basically just kind of repeat this process. Oh, wait, let me set him to argument 190. Alright. So, you know, this is basically just what you do for a bunch of this stuff. Like, you would just set up a bunch of enemies here, and then when you're done, you would just, you know, do your event. I'm going to keep it fairly simple and only have, like, these 4 pirates, even though I could do a lot more with this group. And instead, I'm going to actually condense this group down as a result of that. So if you grab, like, a spawn of 15 enemies, but you only want to use, like, you know, 4 of them, then basically what you do for this is you're going to want to set all the levels to 8. Well, not 8, but, like, basically you want to set the levels above, like, every other one that you have. So I'm going to do this for, like, you know, all these enemies. Okay, so now it's only gonna... So now we'll just have those pirates spawn in. Now for all of these guys, we're gonna set them to a little special something that I've used for years modding this game. We're gonna set it to... Wrong one. It's one of them. Hold on. Okay, yeah. We're gonna set it to FWI 250. As a visual, this is a gray Christmas tree. It's from Timeless River. However, this actually does not spawn in. Which means no graphical problems, no RAM hits, really. Like, if they are, it's completely negligible. And best of all, they don't count as an enemy mob, so it doesn't matter if they were to spawn in. The scripted event just immediately ends when you do this. Or the scripted event immediately ends when all enemy role targets have been defeated. So we're just gonna set all these lovely Christmas trees up on our level 8s. Okay, so now effectively we only have, like, you know, those pirates there. Yeah, and you won't have to actually see these trees in-game or in your event, so don't worry about them. So for this particular group, you don't have to worry about, like, the event activator or anything like that. This is basically good to go. So now we've got all that set up. We've got our BTL script, our battle script set to, you know, spawn both the groups in. I'll compile it just to be safe. We will now save this ARD as CA01. Just in case we broke something, we'll actually make a backup. So we'll do like backup tutorial. Oh, I didn't put in my 1 there. Okay. Making backups is generally a good thing just in case you mess up something. I haven't been doing it this time because I've done this routine enough that I'm confident, but I wouldn't get overconfident anyways. I'm being kind of a dumbass here, but don't worry about it. I totally know what I'm doing. This is not gonna mess up. This is not gonna mess up whatsoever, okay? So we've got CA01 loading in. Alright. Next up, we're gonna skip the scene. And then we're gonna do our event here. So you'll see their positions kind of moved. There they are, they've spawned in. I didn't actually set them to spawn type 0, so that's why they kind of just appeared there. That was my fault. So now that you see those two guys appear immediately, because they're actually, you know, they're level 1, and I just killed both the level 0s. And they spawned in a special manner due to argument 1. So, now to show what I mean, I'll kill these guys. Yep, okay. So he's dead, and like, you don't have to worry about any of the gray Christmas trees, the event just ends. And we'll just wait for the cutscene to skip, make sure nothing crashed. Realistically, nothing should, but you never know with this game. And there we go. It's like it never happened, you know, blah blah blah, you know, Will went to Isla de Murda because he's a fucking dumbass, whatever, you know, shit happens. So yeah, there we go, we complete. So we successfully changed that event up a bit. We could even go further with it if we wanted to. We could add more levels, more enemies. Yeah, so I could expand upon that more, but that'd just be pretty redundant. I think this makes sense at this point. Now I'm going to show like putting the player somewhere else. So if you see the EVT script here, you'll see like, you know, all these programs, blah 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 blah. We're looking for Xeddgx35. Okay, so you'll see here, area setting 7 space-1 corresponds to, okay, when the event ends, do this. You got BGM here, which is just like the game basically saying, okay, well, in this area, play like he's a pirate or whatever. You can actually change these around with the KH2FM plus music digits. Reminder that because these don't have 0x by them, these are being read in decimal. So realistically, we put like, we go to the decimal part of the calculator, we write in 155. We'll go back to the music digits. Okay, so this is saying 9B, so what plays here? Yep, Port Royal battles. I will say these might not always work if you were to change them. Up, because this game is just kind of weird with some of the songs. Now, when my music tool releases, of course, it's entirely stable. Area setting 7 space-1, this refers to when the event actually ends. So we can actually mess with the set jump here, and we can make it jump them to a different room, for instance, or even a different world. So, for instance, let's do Aladdin, and we'll do like area 0, we'll do just entrance 0. And what this will do is this will actually, once the event ends, it'll jump us to Agrabah. Like, first of all, the Agrabah world, and then, let's see here. Yeah, so Agrabah, and then, you know, the actual town of Agrabah? Is it a town? I don't fucking know. It's something. Anyways, so we'll compile this, and it gave us a success. Compile the BTL script from Paranoid. But before we do that, we'll go back and we're going to fix one of the issues we had. We're just going to touch this up a bit. So I forgot to make these guys, you know, actually spawn in at the beginning. We're going to set their spawn type to 0, which means they're going to appear as soon as you do. So we'll just do the save art as, let's say CA01. Actually, we'll make a backup here because we just changed the jump. We'll do that. Now lower save state, we're going to go through this one more time. Alright. So now we're going to fight the pirates one more time. You'll see they're actually active now. Alright. So basically how 2FM normally does it. So we'll kill them, we'll get our cool little 2 spawns in. Alright, so now we've completed that. So it's gonna load the cutscene. Then we're gonna skip it, and if we've done this right, it should jump us to Agrabah. Yep. So it jumps us to this entrance of Agrabah here. Then if we want to go back using the world map, again, PlayStation 3 load times. Well, maybe not exactly, but PlayStation 3 tier load times. So you'll see we kind of spawn in. We're not really supposed to be there at this point in the story, but whatever. So you'll see, go back to the harbor now. Reloading our art again, not that it will really matter for anything else. And if we go back here, they'll be like, oh no, Will, he went to Island of Murder by himself, wow, what an idiot, again. So, basically we're able to jump anywhere we want, and we successfully progress the story as well. And the neat part about this is you could, I'm pretty sure you could also just jump someone into an event. I don't know the exact coding for that, but yeah, you could probably do that. There will likely be a part 2 to this tutorial at some point, just because you know, I haven't investigated everything that I'd like to investigate, but yeah, I think this is probably good for a first video. And next time I'll actually go over messing with the mission conditions, but this has gone on for over an hour. I need a break. So, enjoy the knowledge. Have a good day.